Welcome to Space Matrix, your window into the world's most pivotal events and emerging stories. Here, we bring you the stories that shape our world, offering context and clarity in times of uncertainty. Today, we're tracking a story with massive geopolitical implications in Southeast Asia, a region where history and strategy collide. Breaking news: thousands of U.S. naval vessels have arrived at Subic Bay, Philippines, in a show of force not seen in decades. This is not a routine port call or scheduled exercise. Satellite imagery confirms a massive, coordinated deployment, signaling a significant shift in military posture. The scale of this operation dwarfs any American presence since the U.S. naval base closed over 30 years ago, marking a return to a level of activity unseen since the height of the Cold War. Subic Bay, once a linchpin of U.S. strategy during the Cold War, is again at the center of global attention, its legacy echoing into the present. Its deep, sheltered harbor remains a strategic asset, a gateway to the contested South China Sea, where rivalries and alliances are constantly shifting. On October 17, 2025, history has come full circle in dramatic fashion, as the world watches a new chapter unfold at this storied port. The questions are urgent. Why are they here? What triggered this unprecedented deployment, and what message is being sent to the world? What does this mean for the Philippines, the U.S., and Asia's delicate balance of power? The implications stretch far beyond these shores, touching every nation in the region. Our PulseWire team is on the ground, gathering facts, speaking to officials, and capturing the mood of a community at the epicenter of global change. This is a story that demands attention, and we'll provide updates as they happen, keeping you informed every step of the way. Subic Bay's transformation from a bustling freeport zone back to a military hub is unprecedented, reshaping the local economy and the region's security landscape. The world is watching Subic Bay today, as leaders and citizens alike try to make sense of these fast-moving developments. Stay with us as we break down the facts, analyze the implications, and explore what this means for the future of Southeast Asia. The stakes for regional security and sovereignty have never been higher, with every move closely monitored by allies and rivals alike. Let's dive deeper into what this means for the region, and why Subic Bay is once again the world's strategic crossroads. Let's break down what we know about this extraordinary show of force, and why it matters on the global stage. Multiple U.S. Navy carrier strike groups, including the USS Ronald Reagan and USS Theodore Roosevelt, are now anchored at Subic Bay, a location with deep historical significance for both the U.S. and the Philippines. The deployment features a formidable array of destroyers, cruisers, amphibious assault ships, and support vessels, numbering in the low thousands. This is not just a symbolic gesture, it's a full-scale operational presence. This marks the largest projection of U.S. naval power in the region in a generation, surpassing even the most ambitious exercises of the past. The operation was executed rapidly under the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, but its scale and speed far exceed previous activities, signaling a new era of military cooperation. Officials describe it as a long-term rotational deployment, yet the sheer volume of hardware and the construction of new infrastructure suggest preparations for a more enduring presence. The arrival of advanced missile systems and a large contingent of U.S. Marines points to a comprehensive military staging operation, capable of rapid response and sustained action. According to the U.S. Indo-Pacific Command, the mission is to ensure a free and open Indo-Pacific, strengthen the alliance with the Philippines, and reassure regional partners of America's commitment. The unspoken message is unmistakable. This is a direct signal to Beijing, a demonstration of resolve in the face of growing Chinese assertiveness. Subic Bay's strategic geography, facing the contested South China Sea, makes this deployment a clear challenge to China's sweeping maritime claims and ambitions. The region's military balance is shifting before our eyes, as both the U.S. and China ramp up their presence and capabilities in these critical waters. The world is watching closely, with international media and governments monitoring every move, waiting to see how China will respond to this bold maneuver. The next moves by both sides could redefine security, alliances, and the balance of power in Asia for years to come. The reaction in the Philippines is swift and deeply divided, with emotions running high across the nation as news of the American return spreads rapidly. In Olongapo, a city shaped by its history with the U.S. Navy, some residents welcome the Americans back, hoping for economic revival, new business opportunities, and much-needed jobs for local families. Yet others, including passionate nationalist groups and student activists, take to the streets in protest, viewing the return as a threat to Philippine sovereignty and a painful reminder of past struggles. Chants of U.S. troops out now echo through Manila's busy avenues as demonstrators demand the removal of foreign military forces from their homeland. President Marcos Jr., however, stands firm in his support for the deployment, describing it as an affirmation of Philippine sovereignty and a necessary response to growing aggression in the West Philippine Sea. Still, some senators and lawmakers openly question the legality and long-term consequences of allowing a foreign military presence, sparking heated debates in the halls of Congress. The debate rages both in Congress and on the streets, reflecting a nation torn between the promise of security and the desire for true independence. For many ordinary Filipinos, the return of U.S. forces represents both an opportunity for progress and a risk to national dignity and self-determination. The Philippines now stands at a pivotal crossroads, facing a crucial choice that will shape its future for generations to come. The country's identity, security, and sense of unity are all on the line as it navigates this historic moment. The world is watching closely, waiting to see how Filipinos will respond to this defining chapter in their nation's story. This deployment transforms the U.S.-Philippines alliance. The 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty is now being revitalized in a dramatic way. Under Marcos Jr., the pivot to America is anchored by a powerful military presence. For the Pentagon, this is a strategic victory, re-establishing a foothold in a critical maritime choke point. Manila's calculation: a visible U.S. presence deters Chinese encroachment. But deeper ties come with risks, entanglement in disputes and dependence on U.S. security. The alliance is being tested and reshaped for a new era. The U.S. fleet's arrival has sent shockwaves across the Indo-Pacific. Beijing quickly condemned the move, accusing the U.S. of escalating tensions. Chinese naval groups are reportedly moving toward the South China Sea in response. The risk of accidental encounters between U.S. and Chinese forces is rising. ASEAN's response is cautious. Member states are divided, with some welcoming the U.S. presence and others wary. The deployment forces regional nations to choose sides, sharpening geopolitical competition. Allies like Japan and Australia support the move, but many in Southeast Asia see it as destabilizing. Great power rivalry is now at ASEAN's doorstep. The region's stability hangs in the balance. For Subic Bay, the U.S. return could mean economic revival, jobs, business, and investment. Local businesses are preparing for a boom, but security concerns loom large. Subic Bay is now a prime target in any U.S.-China conflict. Residents face the reality of living on the front line of superpower rivalry. Social and environmental issues also resurface, with concerns about crime and marine impact. The government is betting that economic benefits and security outweigh the risks. Success depends on careful management and diplomacy. The stakes for local communities are enormous. What happens next hinges on China's response, which remains uncertain and closely watched by the world. Will Beijing escalate militarily or test U.S. resolve in these highly contested and strategically vital waters? In the Philippines, legal and political battles over the deployment are just beginning, with heated debates expected. Public opinion will be shaped by both economic gains and the broader social impacts on local communities. ASEAN's unity will be tested as regional diplomacy intensifies and new alliances are considered. The U.S. and China will compete for influence across Southeast Asia, each seeking to sway regional partners. Subic Bay is now a microcosm of global realignment, reflecting shifting power dynamics in the region. Stay with Space Matrix as we track this evolving story and bring you the latest developments.